Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. And this is the last Answer the Call for the year. I first off want to apologize. We haven't done Answer the Call for weeks now, and it's just 3.8 came out, and it was in the PTU, and then it was live, and we were just playing and experiencing new things. And I thought it'd be weird to have a podcast that we basically should have on how do you feel about 3.8 when not everybody could play it. So it was a little bit weird to have a podcast for it. It's the last Answer the Call of the decade. It's the last Answer the Call of the year. It's the last Answer the Call of the month. So we're going to discuss our thoughts on, did Star Citizen have a successful year? For week in review, I'm going to attempt to do a year in review of everything. So this will be a little bit of a quick overview of what Star Citizen's year was kind of like. So real quick in the intro, I want to give you paint a picture for you of what the initial kind of idea of what Star Citizen's year would look like versus what we actually got. So I'm going to throw up a roadmap here, and 3.5, basically everything on this roadmap is what we got because it was in progress at that time. But 3.6, 7, and 8 is what I really want to touch on. So major things for 3.6 that were removed from the roadmap are things like ship rentals. I think the exterior variants were not in 3.6. I believe they were in 3.7. And some minor things like maybe bounty mission NPC improvements. And the big one here is client-to-server acting network rework. That is set for 4.0. If you have tried mining in an Argo Mole, this is the thing that can solve some problems, I think. It's desync. It should resolve a lot of desync stuff. But that's actually also over here in 3.7. So I don't know what this roadmap was. But 3.7, ship rentals were removed, but ship purchasing came in. So, something was taken out that people really wanted, but something that people really, really wanted was brought into the game, and it gave us something to progress towards. It gave us meaning in the game. Now, 3.7, major things that were taken off the roadmap, which on this is basically everything. Cargo stations, bounty hunter armor, all the rest stop variants, and fuel scooping, player swim, the player status system, power systems, PvP bounty improvements, ship-to-station docking, repair refuel, kiosks, physical inventories. All gone. But we were replaced with a lot of good things. We got some Star Marine improvements, the Good Doctor. We got caves. We had quantum enforcement, FPS mining, mission sharing, the personal commodity inventory, and harvestables, right? So that was like the big thing, and then ship rentals did come in, as well as the IFCS proximity assist, which replaced what was in 3.5 and 3.6, which was hover mode. So I think we got a lot of really good improvements in 3.7, and we got some of the things that were on the list, like weapon attachments and stuff like that, right? So really cool. And then in 3.8, on this list, we were supposed to get Microtech, which we did. And the landing zone V1, which we're not getting, we're getting that sometime next year. But more importantly, the dynamic mission system was planned for 3.8, and now we're not going to see that until next year. And that was a really, really big, important thing, as well as salvage, the Mist Hull C, right, in 3.8, and refineries. So that could have created a lot of additional enjoyable gameplay, and we didn't get those things. But what did we get? I don't know off the top of my head if there was any like major additions here, instead of just subtractions. We got the look-ahead camera and third-person camera. You got the 890 jump mission and improvements to the law system. Obviously, the mining heads and the Argo Mole was really, really great improvements for 3.8. And yeah, that was the big one, I think, there for me. I don't know if that was as good for everyone else as it was for me, though. And then planetary weather effects, that was a big one, right? And obviously, server-side object container streaming. So lots of things on the tech side in 3.8 where a lot of things like new cool additions, gameplay side for 3.7. So that paints that picture there for you guys, I hope. And I'm going to kind of leave it there as far as the picture painting goes. And now I want to pose the question to you guys. Did Star Citizen have a good year? Did they have a bad year? Was it somewhere in between? And what were the major things that made you think it was one way or the other? So we are going to start out with our first caller here. And it's going to be Groth, but we don't have anybody in the queue yet, so I can't really pull anyone down. So Zeus, if you don't mind, or Sunday, if you don't mind, can you pull Groth down? There we go. Groth, welcome, man. How you doing?
Hi, Mike.
What's up?
I'm doing good.
So, what are your thoughts? Good year, bad year, somewhere in between?
I think for CIG it has been kind of a good year. I mean, they still exist. They're not bankrupt.
Okay.
And they have some buffer. I mean, at least from the last year's financials now. So it's as long as it goes, I think it's a good year for them. For me personally, kind of the worst year, because not like development, just personal feeling wise. Usual delays and like the stuff that I'm interested in is still not there, etc. And basically my play time gets lower and lower now every year at the moment. And
why is that? Do you think
still it's too clunky with friends? Then still even the mechanics we have are still not there where I want them, like combat, both FPS and on ground. Mining is still for me just wow, it's a mini game. Even though with the new lasers, it's definitely going better, but
it's deeper for sure now.
Yeah, sorting and refining are the things that I'm more like when the whole package is there. What I'm more interested in. And the mole is also like, because I wanted the medium miner, I had that on my list for my fleet, and now I'm probably not getting a mole because it's the same price I got my Orion for. So it's like the value for me is not there anymore. So I'm probably getting that in game at some point then, if there's some persistence. And yeah, that's it. Like more objectively, like it is better, definitely. But like you just said, like there's so much stuff that got delayed, a lot of stuff that really would have helped, like the mission system. And next year's also not looking like the best at the moment. Like in that point, it's still a year with background systems. I mean, the thing is, background systems are so important, and I know that. But
yeah,
like for me personally, they don't matter a thing. I mean, when I want to play the game or not, when I have now my way too many games on Steam, and I look like, do I play them or Star Citizen? And then Star Citizen is still by far not there for what I want it to be.
And I feel the same way on that point in particular. There's lots of games that I'm really enjoying right now, especially Escape from Tarkov. On our Discord, we have a group of people that play Farm Simulator together. And, you know, my Twitch channel and my YouTube channel have been growing, and I love streaming Star Citizen on Twitch because we get a lot of people to stop by and hang out. But more importantly, I want to play these other games, but I can't because I have more fun playing those other games. But as far as like my content creation career goes, I have to play Star Citizen. And I don't think that that's why I don't enjoy it as much. It's not because I feel like I have to play it, but I think it's because it's just not there yet. And these other games are, you know? And there's tons of games out there that are in a better place than Star Citizen. But for me this year, I think for the first time since the end of last year, I think Star Citizen showed that there's still a huge, massive ball of potential. And I think the ball this year got so much bigger. filled with potential, like overfilling with potential now. And I think next year, even though, like you said, the roadmap doesn't look super exciting, I think, I hope that because we've climbed over some technological hurdles like Planetech v4 and server-side OCS, and then hopefully we hit server meshing at the end of next year, but most likely not, then we can start to see that fun and enjoyable and replayable Star Citizen start to come to fruition, where you could start seeing the puzzle pieces to that happen, but we'll have to see. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that's still bothering me is the roadmap, like especially CIG, like I don't like this is the personal thing. I don't like surprises. So all the surprise ships that are directly going always like from concept to life. I mean, that's a nice thing, but
do you know why they do that? You know why they do that, right? It's not supposed to be a surprise.
All the news.
No, it's
great,
because
and then it's instantly big sales. Yeah.
It's because they sell it as a picture, and they can't make that picture a reality every time exactly, and people get upset. So now, and they even have said it on their shows, it's really nice because you get what you're buying. You know exactly what you're buying.
For sure, for the new backers, it's of course also not really relevant, which I'm feeling. But
yeah,
for all of us older backers, it's kind of frustrating if your old ship is getting delayed because
because they have to keep making more ships. But if you are an old backer, you would understand, as much as you hate it, you would understand that they need to fund the game still. So they got to keep bringing in new stuff. And old stuff doesn't sell as well as new stuff. So, I guess before we continue on, what are your, like, you touched on it briefly, but do you think next year is going to be better?
From what I see, it's still the systems.
Don't look at the roadmap.
It's still.
We all know, like, I use the roadmap as like to paint the picture, but we know the roadmap shit.
Yeah.
As far as creating expectations. That's what this roadmap told us. So use just how you feel in this situation. Do you think it's going to be better or no?
The problem, I looked on it already. That's because I can't really put that aside. But I think still no. The problem is I looked at it already like a while ago because I already look at the updates. And the thing is salvage, like the big salvage delay that bumps a bit me out. I think 2021 is a way more potentially good year, especially because of Squadron. Like if Squadron is like there's less work on Squadron and Squadron is coming out, then that year is probably more the year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The PU takes off.
This year is going to be more about Squadron than any year.
Yeah.
So how much is that going to take away from our PU?
Yeah. And what I wanted to say about the roadmap still, the other thing is, other than the concept chips you can buy is, I mean, of course, they want to hide the spoiler stuff, and that's important to some extent. But, for example, we just saw in the new teaser the overhauled glaive and size, and that was not in the roadmap. Those were ships we already know of, and we already know that they're in Squadron. And why were they not on the roadmap? Like, there's no reason. Like, people got like negative feelings because ships are not going where we want them to go, and now we know which.
You know why, Groff?
I said it in an old ATV.
I can't listen to this anymore. You're complaining about the fact that they're not updating the Squadron 42 roadmap. Do you know what that, like, this is the thing that drives me nuts about all of us, because I do the same thing that you're doing. It's you're asking them to find a producer who should be working on a fucking game to go and find out what's going on with every aspect of everything that's going on and keep it updated every single week. So instead of having a guy working on a game, you're having a guy work on a roadmap to keep you updated week on week about a game that isn't out. It should be like Mud said in chat, it's a Jira thing that should update automatically, but then they have to cull out what they don't want to show and what they're not comfortable with and blah, blah. It's like, this is like a 5-person job to keep the community updated. And it comes down to this, for me. It comes down to, we don't get proper updates with the videos. Roadmap Roundup is doing an okay job, but it can't do an okay job if you're not constantly updating the roadmap, right? So you're getting upset about something that your expectations are too high. And you should want them to put focus in not updating us as much and actually doing fucking work, right? And that's how I feel. And like, I don't, and I want to avoid interrupting people, but I just like had to stop you there because it was just, we're rolling down the hill on something that is just like, it's just a roadmap on a game that you're not getting for 2 years. What the fuck why do you care? Is how I feel about it.
Yeah. Because it's also part of the PU and part of the ship pipeline. Because Hull C and so on, the ships they share, especially what is not the Idris and what is not the big Vandal ships, they're also part of the PU, and some of them are like in their old form already like in the PU. So if we just had like, even if they didn't increase like weekly, bi-weekly, maybe even just quarterly, that they work on them, then we would have at least, not even by numbers, not by status, but that if they said, yeah, we work on the size and the glaive to make them, then that's why my ship is not coming. So you have more feeling of progress. And if the update frequency and detail is low enough, then that's probably not much work for a person, especially if there's a community person just sending an email to the teams, if there's some progress, getting it back and then updating it at least quarterly or so. I think then it's not that problematic anymore.
Yeah.
But if we would have known that, then the feeling would have been a bit better. But like at least some status updates, like throw away then the weekly, the bi-weekly, do it monthly or so, would give us a better feeling about the game. And feeling
the thing
is
also
Krathus,
that's what they do.
Important about funding.
That's what they do. They update it pretty much monthly. You see the big changes maybe once a month, and in between that, it's like, what? They didn't do any work this week. I don't understand. They only did 1% work on this. It's because they didn't update it. You know, there's 500 people that work in the company. And somebody has to put all of their work into a picture on a website. I wait until we're closer to a patch when they clear everything out and put all the other stuff that they got work done that they weren't comfortable sharing on the roadmap. And then you can make your decisions. Like, I'm not looking ahead anymore. Like, I'm looking ahead. I am like, okay, 3.9 dynamic mission system. Am I excited for that? Sure. Yes. Could it move? Absolutely. Do I trust anything that they say to me as a thing that's possible? Not until we're a month out of Evocati. Because this is just what it is. I almost feel like you're going insane, like as expecting the different results from the same thing, from the same people. You know, this is Star Citizen. This is maybe what game development is like. I don't know. This is the only company that does this kind of stuff, and you're expecting different results. So to look at the roadmap week on week and expect something is nuts to me. And I like what you said. Yeah, maybe go monthly, but that's basically what they do. So check in on it every now and then.
Then the size and the glaive should have been on the list. Like, just put them on the list and say, oh, we're working on it. Put the picture back on it of the size and the glaive. They have that in there.
It was obvious they were working on it.
Yeah.
You didn't even have to. It doesn't have to be on the roadmap for them to know that they're doing
it. That's why I talked about it with many people. But sometimes, like, what we think is obvious is then sadly not obvious because something other is of a higher priority. So
okay,
I still wanted at least such stuff, because the ship pipeline is a thing that heavily influences our feelings towards the ships, and ships are what we pay for and what we probably will pay for in the future. So when we see that the whole pipeline is getting really faster and stuff, then we're more happy about it. We might buy the next ship or upgrade one to one of higher price. I think that's part of this open development stuff that started the game, and I think we had that for such a long time. We still need it, and we, at least in some detail, we need that to be represented in the roadmap and the monthly reports and so on.
Would you say
if it's not spoiler relevant?
That's fine. Would you say the worst thing of the year was the roadmap? Out of the entire game experience? It sounds like that's how you feel. Out of all the things in the game, what was the worst experience that you had? Was it actually the roadmap being an issue?
Worst experiences is probably like earlier this year, group play, and I mean that's getting better.
It's still horrendous.
Sometimes worse with a patch, but it's still horrendous. But compared to some things, like that is still a worse experience for me. Like
I had to re-add somebody to the same party 15 times today.
Yeah.
One individual 15 times, and I was playing with 10 people.
It's still horrible, but that's definitely worse than the roadmap. I mean,
but is that one of the things that has caused you pain and anguish? I guess is what I'm. Out of all the things, because like the game has been frustrating to deal with this year. It's also been really fun to deal with.
Like that. The ship doesn't look like interior or so as we want. Like that's such minor stuff that I don't really care about that much. Like if it's not like something that's really stupid, then I don't care. Stations. I mean, design is something you can argue about. But
hold on, answer the question. Answer the question. Was the roadmap something that like caused you pain?
Yes, but no pain. Not. It's just because you invested like for years, even before the roadmap, so much into reading. Like a lot of us took more time reading.
Absolutely.
Like Star Citizen updates since 2012 than we played other games in its fullness. And pain maybe, but because there's a lot of stuff that's way less important. The roadmap is, I think, so important still at this stage. I mean, if there are more mechanics in it, if the background systems are done, if Squadron is released, then and we can play at least to some extent, like happily on a weekly basis, maybe on a bi-daily basis, and I don't care anymore about the roadmap. But in this stage, I think the roadmap is one of the main pieces, and probably yes.
Yeah. Because it seems like your focus was so on the roadmap rather than anything that happened in the game this year that I was like that's why I posed that question. I was like, was this the thing that upset you the most? Was their lack, or not their lack of communication, but just their communication style or how they're, because I mean, the one major thing that was really stuck out that falls along with the point that you've been making is the Carrack being delayed, right? Where they have a fucking
it's one of many ships I own that are not released, so I don't care that much. And
but
it doesn't have
it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with the ship. Hold on, let me finish my thought. It's at CitizenCon they have a whole blanket made that says you can get the Carrack in February, and nothing had changed on the roadmap. And how long did you know that the Carrack was going to be in February when you're not updating your community? And like, that's the one thing that they may have changed their terms of service or whatever, but as far as Kickstarter goes, that's the one thing to stay within Kickstarter terms of service is they have to properly update the backers. And they do a wonderful job of updating, I think, better than most games. But that's the one thing where it's like, how long did you know that for? And why aren't you updating us on the roadmap? And that's like, well, you didn't because you didn't want people to be upset before CitizenCon. And it was like, but we caught you. Stop doing that. Like, that's the one thing in 2020, like, stop doing that shit. We're going to get upset when things move, but guess what? When you put things in, we're all going to be happy. And that's, like, just how we have to deal with game development being difficult and all the things going up and down and moving all over the place. You have to deal with the community having the ups and downs with you. So just provide the information as to the best of your abilities, and I don't think that they did that with the Carrick kind of thing. And with many things around 3.7 and 3.8. I think they could have done way better with that. And that's where I want to leave like that conversation. So is there anything else you want to add before we get going?
Yeah, before we go, I wanted to just say, just without commenting, one or two positives and negatives. I think negative video content definitely is still going down the hill. I want more content there. Just if it's community stuff or so, just stuff that without hassling the developers, the community guys can do and the video guys.
Yeah.
Then positive rental system finally there. Something that's against the current the alpha pay to win thing. That's a really great thing. So I'm really happy that is in.
Possible persistence.
Possible persistence, yeah. So those are the things that are still a good positive and good negative, and other than that, it's I don't really know. It's just looking what the second half of next year especially will give us, and just sitting it out, taking a look here and there, playing it maybe here and there if a friend is interested, and
okay,
right on.
All right, Groth. Well, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, and thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, Groth. All right, and our next caller is Hendrick. How you doing, Hendrick? Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Perfect. I hear you loud and clear. All right, so...
Sorry?
Good year, bad year, somewhere in between, and some details as to why. What do you think?
I think it depends on where you are looking at. If you're breaking it down through the different area they have focused in. I'm more biased to the engineering side because
that's what you're working on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there I actually think they have an exceptional year this year. They have the new sound system in. I think the new sound system is in the building blocks, and we have that is actually quite used. The server object container streaming. That is 3 huge areas they have banged out this year.
Yeah, and then Planetech V4 as well.
And yes, Planetech V4, and although I see that more as a visually engineering thing.
So, server-side object container streaming, building blocks UI, which we haven't seen fully implemented into the game yet, because it's not like in our ships and it's not everywhere yet, but the fact that they have it in their hands and can start building with it is exciting, right? What were the other ones that you said? The
server-side object container streaming.
Yeah. No, we said that one.
The sound
system. Yeah. I feel like there was one other one, but it's still I think that was the theme of this year. It was more a really solid engineering year and not great on the gameplay side.
Yeah.
Or anything else, really.
The game design.
The game experience, let's say.
Yes.
So
I think it is game designers who makes the gameplay in the world.
Yeah, and I think they needed to have better engineering experiences in order to make our game experience better. So
Yeah, and have a solid backend instead of the what's called the CryEngine backend, which
Yeah.
what I were hearing was great if you have a small area. It was okay to work in, but with the huge area Star Citizen have, it was just too many files you have to edit to
Yeah.
make anything work.
Yeah. So, is that all you have, or was there anything else you want to add? Because this was a great engineering year. You definitely bring up a good point. Was there anything else you want to add to good year, bad year?
If we are looking at the visual, it's mediocre and not a good, not bad. I think it is like
Well, do you
all
think
other.
that
Yeah.
they've decided that this is the visual bar that we have, and we're going to build within it at this point? I think we heard a lot of that at CitizenCon, right? It's not just about the visuals anymore, it's about the gameplay. Not about the visuals, about the gameplay. Do you think that they said, all right, this is our bar, and we're going to build within it?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm actually not so sure in that area.
I think they'll always try to push the boundaries, but I don't think it's the 100% the focus anymore.
I don't think they will try to get the the most beautiful landscape out at the first try. I think they will go more through iteration from now on. For example, with the new Star Marine game mode.
Yeah, true. What about any negatives? Was there anything that you didn't like? Most of the stuff you said was like good, positive direction stuff. Is there anything that you were disappointed with in 2019 and you'd like to see improve in 2020?
I'm not so sure. As you're probably all going to say, the video content could be better.
Yeah.
Don't
Was it really that bad?
No, it isn't. Just I actually would like to know more about what's stopping what, because in your intro breakdown, where you, was it the cursor breakdown of the roadmap from the start of the year, you were paying out the server, not the connection, the what's called, the connection between the client side and server side have to be better with the desync and all that. And actually, I think the biggest problem that thing that is blocking it is the server side object, server side object container, and the the mesh of
Server
servers where
meshing?
you can, server meshing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is. That's why we don't have it, because if you don't know how the design is going to be, it's practically impossible to know where you can poke in and take the different variables.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why I'm just kind of trying to stay patient until server meshing, is because they can't really build the game until they've built the framework that they built the game in yet. So it's kind of having expectations for Star Citizen right now is kind of hard until we have what hopefully is like one of the final pieces to the puzzle, which would be server meshing. But all right, Hendrick, is there anything else you want to add before I let you go?
Not much. I would like, as I said, some indication of what is blocking what. A little bit like the roadmap, but where you have all the features and what have to be before all the features.
Yeah, and I've always said that should be on video updates and could be said by someone like Jared or another community member easily. And it just never happens. I don't know why. But I don't know if that's ever going to change, man. Because I think everybody's wanted something like that for a long time, and they've never budged.
I'm happy with the roadmap. At least there I can see what they are thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, all right, Henrik. We'll let you go. I think I know who's next in line. But yeah, thank you for your call, Hendrick. I didn't say it to Groth, but I hope you have a wonderful new year, and I hope you had a great holiday.
I know I have the exam in the new year.
Well, good luck on it.
Thank you.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
See you later.
Bye. And we have Kylie. Kylie, welcome. How you doing?
Well, most of the time I pronounce it Kyle, but whatever way you want to work.
Hey, I don't know how to. I saw two E's, but now I see
Well, the
Kylie.
wonderful thing about when you choose a Polynesian nickname is that no one else ever uses it. So there you go.
There you go. So, what are your thoughts on this year? What do you think? Good, bad, ugly, in between, and why?
You know, if you had asked me, I would say it's kind of average.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of more of an unusual, I guess, person that you would normally get in here because I play Star Citizen so rarely. I backed it in 2013.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
No, it's September 2013. You know, I got a freelancer package way back then.
Okay.
And one of the things that I rapidly got the feeling of is that it was going to take a long time for this game to be finished.
Yeah.
And so every now and then, you know, once or twice, maybe 3 times a year, I'll just drop in and see what's going on. You know, I think the common term for this, I believe, is tourist. And, you know, just to see where the game is. And I think what that does actually, compared to some people who play it extensively, because I don't actually think that there's enough gameplay currently existing to play it constantly.
No.
One day after another, and as I'm sure
it drives
you
me
probably
insane.
are aware of that. Yeah, I wouldn't honestly. I wouldn't want to necessarily want to be you.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about it is that when you look at so what is Star Citizen trying to become, and what is it now? Have they done or taken steps to actually make it become what they want versus what they had at the start of this year? And the answer, when I look at that, is mainly yes. They've demoed, you know, multiple things. You now have server object container streaming, which is a major pillar. And one of the major things actually that I take away from this is one of the questions I've always had is, because frankly, even at this point, Star Citizen could fail. I'm just going to, you know, some people don't like to actually hear that, because if their server meshing technology does not work and they are unable to actually get in Star Citizen the player count that makes it anything other than an enormous sandbox with no actual people in it, then you're not going to have very much of a game.
Yeah.
So what is the things that they needed to push towards that point? Well, they needed the server-side object container streaming. Now, obviously, it's rather buggy. I had an experience where I had a bounty on my head. A guy actually came to collect. He actually contacted me and said, "Hey, you want to fight, or can I just shoot you?" And he showed up, and I'm like, "Yeah, I just, you know, would like to get this thing off of me so I can go, you know what?" And he showed up and said, "I'm standing right next to you, pointing a gun at your head," and I couldn't see him. So that obviously it still needs a little bit of work. Yeah. But overall, though, it's getting the stuff that they need to be working on. They actually are working on it. Now, a lot of people have the roadmap rage, which, you know, I think
it's understandable.
I would agree.
It's understandable, but then it's not like Groth totally seemed like he had it. And I was trying to be like, it's understandable, but it's not logical.
Well,
at this point.
Yes, and I personally am kind of in your camp, but at the same time, also, if you're someone like myself that has, you know, has several ships that, you know, they salvage, they've taken, it's basically at this point, it's like the Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football, you know, because I have a reclaimer, and, you know, who knows when I'll ever actually get around to being able to use that. And then there's the other people talk about the Carrack. Well, I also have a Crucible. I don't know the last time that ship was even mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
It's like the Polaris. They just sold it, and that was it. It's not even a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at some point it will be a thing. I mean, that's the thing is that when you're Star Citizen, if you're backing Star Citizen, especially at this stage, or as for me, like, what was it now, 6 years ago, you're not really buying a game. You're buying a concept that you hope at some point would be a game.
Yeah, but how long is that acceptable to say, you know?
Well, that depends, because I think that's a question that you can only ask each individual, and it really depends on when you're looking at from if you're in a retrospective from year to year, are we making progress towards making that promise a reality. And for what I see right now, one of the things that's always concerned me is going back to, can Star Citizen fail? Well, the major thing that could cause it fail, of course, would be that that the server meshing doesn't work. Okay, well, we don't know about that. Although having said that, every major tech hurdle that they seem to have encountered so far, whether it be 64-bit or client-side object containers, they've seemingly overcome that. So
it's taken them longer than they expected it to overcome, but they have overcome all of those hurdles. Absolutely.
Yes. So that gives me confidence that in the long term that it will continue, that they should be able to figure out solutions to these technical challenges. But one thing that definitely has concerned me actually is, okay, so we could shove ships out the door, like once every couple favorite patches, and there's just something shiny and flashy that I almost, for the Star Citizen community, it's a lot like going out and screaming squirrel to my Labrador Retriever. But what has concerned me a little bit is, okay, so how many systems are in Star Citizen? And what have you shown or begin to show the ability to actually start to recreate them in a somewhat timely manner?
The only thing they've done is say, we recreated the Stanton system in 2 months, yet
that's
they have 2 or 3 moons around Microtech that they've had multiple weeks now to build, but we don't have.
Well,
so if you're able to build that fast, like, where are Microtech moons? Why don't we have them in a 0.1 patch of 3.8? Why are we getting them in 3.9? That's where
can't answer that question. But if you take them at their word, where they were said that with the Planet VTech 4 that they were able to basically build the worlds in a much faster fashion. And again, we're kind of, now I'm a little bit speculating. I'm going ahead of what was.
What I'm basically saying is you can't take them at their word on that. Is how I feel.
This is something. Well, I agree but disagree, because the thing about that is if you, what's on a roadmap, it's basically, okay, I just carved my, the tablet handed down from Chris Roberts God and then stuck it in a microwave because it was written in Jello. That's basically, I don't want to say it's worthless, but it doesn't really reflect most likely the reality that you're going to get. That's for sure.
Not until you're close to Evocati for the given patch.
I would agree with you. However, I would say that what you can kind of see is themes. You can see themes, major things that we think that we need to accomplish. And by that, I'm not necessarily even talking about, gameplay, for instance, or, like, for instance, salvage or, repair, or, hey, can we even, take a, start mining like hydrogen gas clouds or something like that so we can refuel ships. The things, though, that are major would be, how do we make the world, what tools and things like that. So when they come out and they say, okay, so what we have here is we have a new system that we believe will make us able to rapidly scale the universe in a much faster and more efficient manner than before. Okay, well, then that's interesting to me. When they come and they also show basically, that economy thing that we've kind of been talking about for the last, I don't know how many years, where Tony Z gets up on stage and he basically repeats what he says every year. Yeah. And he actually started to do that this year too. And everybody, I think everybody's like, oh man, I've already heard this like 3 times. Yeah. And then,
and then he stopped.
Yeah.
And did something.
That's new. That's we want that. How soon are we getting that? Because so you're seeing how they're going to set up the economic system for every system, so they can now basically, once they get that working in Stanton, they should be able to scale that to pretty much anywhere. Because one of the nice things about seemingly how that would work is it allows you to prototype systems. It allows you to basically turn a switch on a computer and just basically do all kinds of stuff and see what do you need to do to make this break? So then you can figure out, okay, well, we want to have more of this or less of this, or we want to limit this, or we want to have more of that,
Yeah.
Which even before anybody goes and sticks it into Star Citizen, flicks a switch and makes it a live thing, which is an important thing. You can have some level of regression testing on it even before you're actually trying to use it in game. So you have an idea whether, hey, is this actually going to work? At least to the best of your knowledge. It's obviously when you get players that are ingenious in going around and breaking stuff. I played EVE Online for 10 years actually, and you could, in the amount of ways that you would find to exploit things that CCP would think are completely unexploitable is just frankly amazing. And that's anytime that you get people working in any kind of MMO. So that's sort of to be expected. But that's the major things is that, so from what I'm seeing, we are potentially seeing a way to quickly move and scale the universe into a greater, number of systems, because at some point they're going to have to.
And it's not even just that. It's also, well, I guess it is that, because scaling systems also means scaling gameplay within those systems, and the fact that the mission system would be completely based around this work that he's doing. It's not just the economy, it's also every interaction that we have with NPCs and everything. It's so important, and showing that as that was definitely very early, an initial showing of it where they had a few commodities. That was not ready to go by any means, let alone interconnected with the game. But the fact that they showed that, I agree with you completely. It shows the ability to scale, and that's what this year was for me, was showing and moving towards the direction to show the ability to scale. Because if you can't scale, like you said earlier, you don't have Star Citizen. And once you hit server meshing, then I feel like, based on everything that they've told us, and again, I try not to take everything that they say as gold, but you have the framework of what the game should be at that point and how to build inside of it. And then you have the ability to start building inside of it. And the next patch, we have this dynamic mission system. Does that mean what Tony showed us would be at least somewhat interconnected with the game? Possibly.
Yeah, they haven't been very clear. And to my point, is okay, well, we have a prototype.
You know why? You want to know why? Probably because they're saving it for a Star Citizen Live.
Well, that too, but also I think
so
they're
tired of that.
Cautious about talking about stuff where they can't guarantee, because they know that basically if they say something and it doesn't quite work out that way, a segment of the community is going to basically, it's like if you just took a knife and slit the throat of a bunch of chickens, they'll start running around with their heads cut off, effect. But because really the server meshing is so big, because I can tell you basically, because I play a lot of combat flight sims, I'm one of those DCS guys, IL-2 guys, right? And the number of people typically you can put on a server, basically, because I assume, I'm going to just make an assumption that the level of detail is similar, to something like that. Mm-hmm. You're talking about 100 people on a single server, if so, which is kind of what I would expect them to expand out now to, was maybe some of the newer server technologies instead of what we have right now. But beyond that, you can't do stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's basically, that's the limit. So now maybe they can do some more magic in the background or whatever, but with the server meshing, this is actually big for me, because obviously you should be able to have as many servers and mesh them together and have however many number of players. And actually for me, I'm very much hoping this works, because then other companies could see how it works and then steal that and end
make
up
MMOs that better. Yeah.
Well, I'm personally thinking about the Combat Flight Simulator community, because one of the things is, you can only have X amount of players in a server. If you could stick 1,000 people in a server, now what do we have got?
Yeah.
And so, and that's the thing is, I think there was somebody, I can't recall, I was listening to somebody the other day, and they were talking about how this game should be driving the state of the art of the technology of the game forward. Because one of the problems that you see today with the AAA community and all this other stuff, I almost laugh, because I can't recall really the last time I bought a AAA game, because they are frankly pretty bad these days.
Trash.
Yeah. Huh. You got the microtransactions, all the other junk, and basically it's just they take what they had before, they stamp another label on it with some minor improvements, and they shove it out the door again because people buy it. So therefore, what is going to actually move the bar forward? One of the things about it is that when they did the initial Kickstarter campaign, so that there was that video and it says, "I am a PC game." You know what I mean? They're just like, oh, for someone that's obviously PC master race, you have, what is the state of that right now? It's become consoles. It's like almost like a console. You know what I mean? Where they're not really putting a lot of effort into it because they feel they don't have to. Well, hopefully, one of the things that I hope for is that Star Citizen will kind of force them to move beyond what they currently have.
Yeah.
Now, who knows if that'll be the case, but who knows if Star Citizen will be successful. But the thing, circling back to what we were talking about at the start, did Star Citizen this year show that they are at least making progress toward making their final vision a reality? And the answer for me is yes. And that makes, for me, it's a positive year. Now, if you're talking about as an outstanding year or whatever, I think it's rather like pretty much most of the years. I think a lot of people, they're like, well, this year, everything's going to come together. They're going to have all this. And I'm like, every time I hear this, it's like,
it makes me cringe.
It's
a meme here. We just say next year's the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Next year's going to be the year, and we just like laugh about it because the amount of people, like when I was on the Redacted podcast, we've said that, like stupid things like that. We've said so many times, and it's just like, how many years are you going to keep saying that?
Well, I think if you've been around the project for a while, you've
said it every year.
Well, I personally haven't said it every year because I kind of recognize that you will make slow, because this is what just looking at all the years before, they have made solid, steady progression towards their goal. It's maybe in a lot of cases it's not the progression you wanted to see. It's
also not the progression that they put out there that we should expect to see, and it's not about like, because you said that sort of condescendingly, not towards me, but towards like the community in general. Like, it's not the kind that you wanted to see. Like, you should have known better, and it's like.
I kind of think that at this point,
you should.
There are a lot of probably new backers,
but new backers won't. Exactly.
Right, exactly. But people like myself, people like you,
we know better.
Yeah, it's probably going to be about the same as it has before. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I mean, obviously, you would like to see suddenly,
it is a bad thing.
Suddenly, salvage would be dropped in my lap. Well, yes, okay, sure.
It's a bad thing because they still communicate after all these years. They still communicate fucking horribly.
Yeah.
After all these years, we've told them what our expectations are, and they still don't meet them. And
at this point, though, is that something that's kind of like baked into the cake already, though?
I think so.
I think so too, and so therefore, I don't necessarily pay a whole lot of attention to the hype machine. I'm basically, what is the state of the project right now, and is it becoming closer? Right now we almost have the whole Stanton system. Almost. I mean, there's some things that we're missing some moons, and honestly, and some of the outer parts of it. They talked about like exploration gameplay and things like that, but. This for me, I play both Elite and I also play this, although, not Elite has its own problems, its own issues, but it's for me, it kind of, when Frontier came out with their very first system, they're finally seeming to arrive at that part of, I don't want to say a beta. I can't recall what the Frontier called it back then, but it is a milestone of the type. You know what I mean? And I think for me, you talk to people, they kind of get a little too mired, in my opinion, into the day-to-day of, what the roadmap says or whatever, and not necessarily tracking, okay, are we actually moving forward towards our goal? And for me, the answer has been yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't disagree with you. And as far as like the communication goes with that part of the discussion, my expectations for their communication are far lower than my expectations for the actual game every time I try and log in. So I'm not trying to hammer home that point anymore because it's pointless. I think, like you said, it's baked into the cake. But all right, Kylie, we have a bunch of other callers on the line, so I'm gonna let you go.
Well,
but
thank you for taking my
really
call.
Good call, and everybody lost in chat because they said your voice was so nice.
Well, if it was so nice, maybe we should do this twice. I'll perhaps see you some other time.
All right, man, definitely. I hope to see you on another one.
All right, thanks.
Later, man. All right, and our next one is IDD KFA. I just got jerked around a little bit because you weren't initially here, and now you are really quickly. So, 1 second, I'll get your name on the screen. So,
Yeah, sure.
IDD.
How you doing?
I'm good. How was your holiday?
It was lazy. I was
Good.
lazy.
That means great. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this, man? Positive, negative? Why?
It's all perspective.
Yeah, but your perspective. I want to hear
Depend-
yours.
My perspective. Was it a successful year in general, or in certain parts? Of course.
Okay.
Every year is a progress for Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a successful year for what I'm looking for? Not really.
Well, what were you
And
looking for
that is
then?
gameplay. That is gameplay, like every year.
Yeah.
And I mean, you are the best example. I see you doing the same thing last year as well, and the year before.
I haven't done
And
anything different. It's cargo
Right.
hauling and mining. That's it. Missions are all broken.
And
Every patch.
and of course you could say, yeah, you can do made up PvP, but that's not your thing.
No,
But I
they
know
do
it's
that
out
on
there.
Facebook. Yeah.
Right. So in terms of gameplay, I mean, there are some implementations that could be an improvement, but
Mhm.
they either don't work or they are just bad, like everything regarding the AI. And yeah, that's
I'm sorry. Were you here in the beginning when I showed the initial roadmap?
yes, I was.
There's a lot of gameplay on that roadmap, right?
On the roadmap, yeah.
The initial roadmap.
But
Fuel scooping.
right.
Repair, refuel, restock.
Salvaging.
Bounties, salvaging. Ship to station docking. Cargo terminals. Refineries. It's all there.
Right. But actually that's not what I'm looking for, or what I think the game should go for in the next 2 years or so.
All right, so let's hear it.
Because
Where do you want to see him go?
When I look at the gameplay, I don't see a single rudimentary easy gameplay loop. Like, you mine stuff, and whatever material you mine is being used to repair your ship. Like, it's needed to repair your ship. If nobody mines, you can't repair your ship. Like, simple gameplay loops like that don't exist. And usually what you hear as what I think now is definitely an excuse is that they don't want to hard code or implement system. They have to overhaul and replace and whatever. But what is prison gameplay? Prison gameplay will be at least changed to fit the new system, because they said that's what we can do right now with what we have.
Yeah.
So why? Let's make an example. Like I said, I want gameplay loops, and that would be like mining stuff. And when you mine and you sell your ore to a station, then you can repair your ship.
Yeah.
Like, if nobody mines ore, you can't repair your ship. And who's to say that the box can't include fuel for now?
You're ruining everything. You know that this is what I wanted next week's topic to be. Zeus, it's okay. Zeus put this in Discord a long time ago, and I've wanted to do it for a while. And it was like that. This will be next week's episode. It's should Star Citizen implement simpler mechanics while we wait for these really complex ones? Like, mining's not super complex, but to some extent, it's way more complex than any other mining in other games aside from Elite Dangerous. So, yeah, like, that's kind of I agree with you. Like really, really simple, especially with the new building block systems and UI should be really easy to develop inside. Why aren't we doing things like that could solve issues like fuel scooping and repair and stuff like that to just make the game a little bit more interesting while you're building it? And the whole thing is, and sorry, IDD, I'll let you go right after I make this thought, is that they absolutely focus on what's like that our gameplay experience is important. They focus on it all the time, right? Otherwise, we would have this absolute awful looking, awful playing game that has super simple UI and clicking and ease. Oh, I clicked and we transferred money to each other. Oh, I clicked and we transferred cargo to each other. Well, why can't we do that now? I don't make a game. I don't make games. So how complicated is it to put simple mechanics in? Is a real important question, you know?
Well, the things I mentioned, they already do. They just have to change the name from inert material to fuel,
Yeah.
and that's it. You already have the communication between the game and the database.
Yeah.
So that's nothing.
Well, what about what I'm saying, like transferring one thing from your ship to another? They already have it in game. You do it at the ship console. Why can't we do it ship to ship?
That's probably how the game is set up. That really might be different.
Okay.
But for kiosks and like you have in the outposts, they directly communicate with the database, and there shouldn't be an issue to set it up to sell something different or make a certain commodity required to repair or refuel, right?
Yeah. But yeah, let's get back on topic with this year though, as far as like what's good, what's bad, and so on.
There's actually not much else for me. Like I said, they made improvements, very good improvements on the technical side and the backend side, on the visuals. But I just don't see. I see indications of gameplay improvements, but not actual visible improvements, like how you play the game.
Yeah,
it's just the same for me. And for one last point, if I may.
Yeah, please.
I think a couple of weeks ago, Elysiana pretty much nailed it when she said, even if they implement all the tier 1 salvage, tier 1 refueling, etc., just look at how long it will take till the game till all the gameplay mechanics are in, and we are easily talking about 5+ more years until all of that is in. Even if they always say, well, things get better and we speed up, and I mean we hear things speeding up since 2014.
Yeah.
When the first major speed up and everything gets rolling was the 64-bit conversion, right?
And everything has sped up, but everything's also, there's a lot more moving parts. There's a lot more things, right?
Right. And you have, when you take a look at the whole picture and you draw that imaginary finish line, when do you reach it?
Yeah.
At that pace that we have right now.
You don't, because it's constantly moving. You can't reach a finish line that's moving in the opposite direction of you. Which true. It still is. And that's what people have issues about the game, I think. And again, that's a little bit off topic, but that's the issue with the game, and that's what people put down about the game, is that there's that finish line, unfortunately, is still moving. It hasn't set still yet.
Yeah, and that's why I think
the CRC is a Terrata video, and now we have to have all the way our cameras work change. You know, that's crazy stuff.
We also had the famous infamous VLOL mode.
Yeah. So
No, what I was, I think just they should go in a direction that's more like the Kickstarter premise of the game. 3 core simple mechanics, do them now, let the people play, and expand from there, because else I don't see an end to the project in what is quote unquote promised, right? For all the things they want to put in the game.
but isn't your
And
expectations to know that that's never going to happen?
Well,
Because-
then I should quit the project right now.
No, I don't think so.
Never gonna happen.
I don't think so. I think that we all know that back then there was a lot of wild speaking and saying shit constantly that I think even back then we knew they couldn't deliver on. Like the idea of something like pets, right? I'm not saying that they can't deliver on it, but to say that, all right, this is when the game starts, everything needs to have all these things in for me to be satisfied. I think they're gonna start they're gonna press play on the economy at some point, but are all those stretch goals gonna be met? I don't think so. Do you? When they press play on the economy and there's no going back, we're not gonna have every stretch goal met. There's no chance.
No,
Okay.
not all of them. No way.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page with that, like that part.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm talking about the gameplay and the professions they advertise the game will have. And my question would rather be, would you be fine with having like let's say 12 different tier 1 gameplay professions, or do you want to have 3 that's working really well and really form a gameplay loop that are connected to each other?
I would want the latter.
Yeah, me too. But
Mhm.
do you see that coming? Because this year,
Yes, I
was,
actually do.
You do? Okay,
Yeah.
explain.
Cargo stations. Chris, well, okay, the one thing that's missing from the roadmap is the work that Chris did for ship-to-ship, ship-to-station docking, which also means like things like the prospector modules being able to pop off, which might also mean something like moving cargo from one ship to another, and cargo timers. So now you have, because you basically right now have 2 gameplay loops in the game that are working fine, and it's cargo and it's mining, and they're building refineries to make that more interesting. They're building cargo stations to make that more interesting. They're putting the timers in to make it less uncanny valley, I guess, and weird and immersion breaking. So there's 2 loops out of the 3, and then the other one would be the bounties. And with the dynamic mission system, you're going to have those things all start to tie together as far as mining and cargo would be my assumption, and then hoping that PvP bounties as well as regular bounties get some improvements to them. But there's your 3 loops that work, and that all work together to some extent. Because I think once you get PvP bounties, then you have then you probably have some mercenary type gameplay that comes really soon after that, which can tie into like protecting miners, cargo haulers. I don't think we're that far off from those 3 things. Now, is that good enough? I'd like to see those 3 really good working ones, but then have some really simple ones that you can build upon from there. And maybe that's, not realistic.
But I don't see the clear dependencies for one thing and another.
Well, dependencies for like mining and cargo to come together and work together are that dock ship to station and ship to ship docking tech. then the dynamic economy will tie mining and cargo together with PvP, potentially. And the law system and blah, blah, blah.
I don't know. I haven't read that much into it, to be honest.
Okay.
So maybe you're right, of course, right? But
maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a maybe thing.
Implemented that way. Yeah. And to go back, to tie it to the topic, at the beginning of the year they said we have made major changes in our goals we want to reach and how the game should look like going forward. And I haven't seen, I personally haven't seen that direction yet, and that's why for me
it's all
the
talk.
year was, yeah, right. So for me the year was positive on some areas like the tech and backend and the visuals, but for the one thing I'm looking most forward to, the gameplay, I haven't seen lots of improvements.
Okay. Yeah, and that's fair. Not changing your mind on that. I'm not even going to try because I agree with you. Yeah, and that was my expectations for the year, though. I guess that's what I'll probably ask the rest of the callers, and we'll end your call with that, and just try and be quick because we have so many callers. Is
Yeah, sure.
What were your expectations going into this year? Were they pretty low? And they did reach some pretty nice technological hurdles, but were you expecting? It sounded like by your initial call you were expecting a lot more gameplay, and that's why I showed the roadmap. Is those are the expectations they created for us?
No, my expectations were ultra low.
Okay.
And in certain parts, like I said again, in the backend department, tech department, and the visuals, it's great. They kind of exceeded my initially low expectations, but it's not so much that I've expected a lot of gameplay improvements, but when I look at the bigger picture, at the time, one day I want to play the game, right?
Yeah.
And when I factor that in, even my very low expectations weren't even met.
Yeah, and I think that's fair because one day we want to play the game. Yeah, I get it. Well, go ahead.
No, I was done. I have nothing more to say.
Okay, cool. All right, IDD. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it, and have a happy New Year. Okay.
Yeah, cheers. You too, bud.
Later, man.
See ya.
All right, our next caller is King Curly. How you doing, King? Can you hear me? King, might have to let you go. All right, I'm going to put King back into the queue, and we'll bring in Skylski. Skylski, can you hear me?
I can hear you, buddy.
All right, cool. I'm going to lower you just a little bit, and then
No worries.
we're good. How you doing? So let's start out with what were your expectations going into this year?
They weren't high, to be honest with you.
Okay.
They haven't been for a while, and obviously being a backer from 2013.
Yeah.
When you first backed the game, it was very high and it was very exciting. You're sort of wishing the years away because you wanted to get the new implementations in.
Yeah.
However, this year was just the same old. It's the same old CIG. They put out the roadmap. You expect things to be moved back, and things.
How do we look at the roadmap and know that it's not going to happen, but they put it out?
It's experience, I think. Experience over the years. It's not something I wake up and read my paper and eat my crumpets to. You know what I mean? It's just like literally I flick onto it and get an idea of what the year's going to be. See what they're saying they're going to implement, and then I go away and I just play the game, and then I go onto Reddit, see that people are kicking off about, say, for example, salvage, and I have a look, and and then get up to date with things, and then that's it. I just put it away again, back in my mind, and start playing the game again.
Yeah. Do you like, how do you play regularly? You just stop by at the initial start of a patch and say, and then move on to other games, or do you play pretty regularly?
Lately, just because of mining, and I found how fun it was with mining. And okay, it's not the best loop. However, it's challenging enough for me to be like, right, okay, I'm gonna better my last mining haul, see how much money I can get, and then just rinse and repeat. And it's something you can put down, walk away, have a fly around Microtech because that's new and shiny, and then come back to it and be like, okay, let's sit down and do some mining again.
Yeah.
And with them all, I fly solo with them all. Like most people are going to probably kick off about that, but I find it a little bit more challenging with them all, because obviously you're flying along and then you have to get out your seat, go downstairs, get into the mining thing, mine, and so on and so forth. So I don't know. It's one of those things, I guess.
Yeah. Well, at least you have no desync issues when mining by yourself in the mole like we all do while we're playing. What a pain in the ass right now. Now, I guess it sounds like you don't have too much more to add, so I'll ask this question to possibly end it, and we can keep going if you feel like it. But what are your expectations for next year then?
Well, next year I hope that with CitizenCon that just went, I hope that they take heed in how everybody reacted with what Sean Tracy said about making things, more fun for people. They should be looking at that this year. They should be sitting down and saying, hang on, Sean, you had a really good point. Everybody was really excited with what you had to show and stuff. And
I'm scared because of it.
More of that.
Because I feel like I'm only scared because I feel like they're creating that expectation in my mind to expect that next year. And if they don't deliver because of, whatever issues they could possibly run into, how disappointed I might be. This might be the first year in a long time that I've just been, like, downright disappointed.
Yeah.
Because my expectations this coming year, I think, are much higher than any other year because of all that CitizenCon talk. Yeah.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
But like you said in the last call, theoretically, it's not hard to implement small things and build on the small things to then make the game fun. Like I said, I'm not a game developer.
None of us are, so we're like super armchair deving it. But all we're trying to say is you have to do something. You cannot keep saying it. Well, we need this next. You can't. You have. There has to be a stopping point, and it has to start soon. For me personally, and I think a lot of people agree with it, is that you have to start focusing on the gameplay, and that's what was so refreshing about CitizenCon is to hear them say it and not me, because I get called every name in the book for saying shit like that, armchair dev, salty, angry, whatever. But when they say it, it's everybody starts throwing confetti, and it's like, it's very nice and whatever, I don't care when they say it. I'm just happy they said it.
Then again, actions speak louder than words, don't they? They can say it.
Absolutely.
There's many things to make us happy, but if they do it and pull through, that's a total different thing.
Well, and how about this? And we'll keep hammering on this. If they attempt to do it and don't necessarily pull through, I still consider that a win, rather than not attempting it at all and saying, well, we're going to wait for server meshing.
They could say they're going to do it, learn from it, take it away, say they're going to implement it, not implement it, and then later down the line probably implement it. That might make people a little less angry with their false promises.
Yeah, and my favorite thing is people say, well, that's a waste of time. What has this entire game been up to this point, other than a giant waste of time? Like, no, I don't want to put the game down or anybody's work down or anything like that. But how much time has been wasted in Star Citizen's development up to this point, making the game playable for you while they build it, right? If they didn't have to do that, we would be much further along in the game. So what's a all I'm saying is what's a little bit more time at this point to make the gameplay experience more rewarding while you play it.
Exactly. Take some time to make it enjoyable rather than this is what we've got. Here it is.
Take something like
enjoy it.
Yeah, take something like let's look at 3.9 real quick. Take something gameplay wise. Prison missions out. Take the restricted area rework out. Take economy display terminals out. Take death animation improvements out. And tech repair, refuel, restock kiosks are basically doing that, what we're asking. Take bounty mission NPC improvements out and start adding very small tier 0 versions of what you want to do in the future. And when I say tier 0, real tier 0, like crappy UI, super simple, but create some like dynamic experiences in the game. Yeah. So that's what I think. But that's just me. I'm just me. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I still trust them more than I trust me. But I'm just saying how I feel, that's all.
Another thing is I don't really care much for Squadron 42 anymore either.
Me neither. I'm over it.
I can't wait for it to be out solely because
Luke Skywalker's dead. Who cares?
So you can like focus more on the PU because that's where everybody's going to be at the end of the day. No matter what, if they play the Squadron 42, they're going to end up in the PU because they're going to be wanting more if it's good.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of a hindrance to them because people keep asking for it, keep asking and asking. They're not showing much, and like it seems to be the decision. Some of the decisions, anyway, is that, we're not going to put that in it because it doesn't like fall through with the Squadron 42 stuff.
Yeah, but here's the big thing about it is they've been taking all this money that the PU has earned them and developed Squadron 42 with it, at the same time throwing crumbs at us, which is why we feel the way we're feeling. We're just getting the crumbs, basically, right? There's very few teams that work on the PU regularly. So they're just throwing crumbs at us, and we're dealing with those crumbs, and most of the crumbs we don't like. And that's just the world we live in right now, and that very much was this year, and I think next year it's going to be way worse as far as what little crumbs we get, because Squadron 42 has to be a major focus, right? Squadron 42 comes out, and what ends up happening is, like, I said this earlier in the stream today, was if they sell 2 million copies at 60 a pop, and 2 million is not a lot in terms of, like, the game community has grown so big. It's a huge industry now. That's $120 million infused back into the game. And how much of that will be infused back into the game? Well, we got to pay back an investor at a certain percentage, and then we get some back, So I think that's why, like, a $50 million investment from an investor, while it seems like a lot of money to us, all they have to do is sell 2 million copies, and they've profited on that investment, right? So it's and 2 million might be a lot, might not be, but when you see what some of the bigger games in the world sell for, 20, 30, 40 million copies, is too an unrealistic expectation. I don't think so. So, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add before we let you go, though?
I think the good and bad. I think the community's stepped up more than CIG has. There's loads of community people out there who are joining together and doing, like, creating things in game. And to close on that, I think the bad thing about next year is I don't think anything will change. I don't think they will change in themselves with how they do stuff. I think it will stay the same.
Yeah.
Unless some kind of crisis comes up and they have to sit down and have some kind of firefighting meeting.
The only crisis would be if, like, Jared left. Then everything, like, I love Jared. I think Jared does a great job. I really do. But if Jared left, it would probably create a situation where you would see a lot of things be different because you probably have different hosts, different experiences. I've said it many times, like, Jared's you see him twice a week, every single week. Like just one Star Citizen Live that we had the other day with the lore guy. It was kind of refreshing. You know, it was different. That's all. That would be the one kind of change I'd like to see. Is just like more guest hosts, and not less Jared, but just more variety. Because I don't think we could do it. We couldn't do it without Jared. And I've said this a million times. Like the guy works harder than anybody on planet Earth. Even though it seems like they get like 400 million weeks of vacation these days. I don't get it. But we couldn't do it without Jared. But I think it'd be really a cool, refreshing way to do next year is to just have some variety, more variety. It was really nice this year with the little bit of variation we got. Yeah, man. All right, I guess I'll let you go, Silesky, and we'll bring in our next caller. And we lost our last one. Oh, I don't know what happened. Okay. Thanks for calling, though, man. Have a happy New Year.
No problem. Thank you.
Later,
you too. Thank you very much.
And our next caller and our final caller is Der Brutali. And how are you, man?
Hello, Mike. Thanks for letting me in.
Oh, of course.
Another German here.
Yes.
Fortunately for you.
It's okay.
Sorry for my accent.
No, it's fine.
You were just talking about Squadron 42, and I totally understand that you might not be interested in that, right?
Yeah.
But I think you agree that Squadron 42 is extremely important for the continuation of the work.
It's very important.
You, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And my perspective on that is that, particularly with the trailer we just seen, right, that they, almost totally leave out any gameplay is extremely concerning to me.
Okay, let me stop you there before we move on. I'm glad you brought that up. Why is that concerning? What gameplay, what trailer have you seen from a AAA game that has any gameplay in it and is not just full of cutscenes? And this was titled Visual Trailer and was just to show you that, like, hey, work was being done. Like, very few show gameplay in their trailers, so I feel like our expectations were a little bit too high there.
Yeah, well, of course, the average game developer doesn't show as much. I agree with that, but of course, CIG, of course, made the agreement with the pledgers to keep a more open sheet on the development.
But with Squadron 42, they also made the agreement that they were going to keep pretty much everything closed off.
Yeah. Well, my perspective is that CIG really struggles with those really difficult parts of game development, which is AI, all these edge cases in animations, networking. That's what I want to talk about later a bit.
Okay.
And gameplay, right? First-person shooter experience, all those things. And clearly, CIG naturally struggles with that, considering that they're a new studio, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that for many people, it would be extremely important to see some very clear progress in those aspects. Not seeing that, I think, is a bit concerning. Right?
Okay, that's fair.
From my point of view.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I agree. And I think that was a general consensus from a lot of people, is there's lots of technical progress, but not progress on, hey, is this game going to be any good? It looks really cool, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So what you already talked about with your previous callers is, of course, the importance of making progress with the core technologies, specifically networking, right?
Yeah.
SOX is the big term that's being thrown around for a year now. And I think I already wrote it in your chat before. I was measuring the tick rate on 3.8, and everybody can do this, and can do this with Wireshark.
Okay.
Example.
I was going to say, how do you do that, and how did you measure it? Okay.
Yeah, there are different apps where you can track the packets coming in from certain IPs, so you know.
Okay. And what's what were your findings?
Unfortunately, it didn't improve, right?
Yeah.
So right now it's struggling down at 5 hertz. That's extremely low. Most modern games run at least 30 hertz, I think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of awful seeing, that there on this very important part of the tech, there has not been any progress really, right?
Well, and don't you
I
think
have
it
to
causes?
say-
Don't you think it causes like a lot of more issues when the server tick rate's so low that it creates a lot of issues, and you think that those issues are bugs? You report the bugs. They go and spend time on trying to resolve or recreate or reproduce such bug, and then it was just related to the server tick rate being low. Is that?
Oh yeah, of course. There are many of these things, of course, happening, and then AI is breaking. All this,
Yeah.
of course, are dependent on that. Yeah, yeah. But from my perspective, it's really just about the perspective of the entire project and the viability of the development.
Okay.
And I have to say, I'm a game developer myself. I have experience in MMOs.
Okay.
Also with server meshing and things like that. And what people must be aware of is that Star Citizen, the universe and the gameplay style with the high speeds of spaceships and the planets and things like this are really, by far, I think, the worst case scenario of any game there is.
Yeah.
Because you zoom over planet surfaces and
Yeah.
you have huge amounts of assets with giant polygon counts, and that's the worst case, right? And
Yeah.
To the best game studios like, say, Rockstar, GTA 5, they struggle to simulate a large game world for 50 players.
Would you agree that you probably couldn't find another, like, let's say Thanos snaps his finger and removes CIG. Everybody just disappears. They're safe. They're good. They're in a good place. Don't worry. They didn't die, but they're just gone for a little while. But Star Citizen has so much potential that you would think another game studio would like try and pick it up and finish it. But would you agree? I feel like not a single company would try and finish this game, because it's like you said, it's like the worst case scenario.
Well, it's just a matter of probability, right?
Yeah.
It just becomes extremely unlikely that they succeed, particularly considering that they are a very new studio
Yeah.
with probably a lot of lack in many departments in human resources.
What do you mean by succeed, though? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, deliver on their promises, succeed, success." From your perspective, what is succeeding? Because I think it's very different for everybody, right? Where my version of succeeding is turning on the economy, having enough, maybe having a significant amount of star systems and some level of I don't even know what my expectations are anymore.
I think I kind of know.
Okay.
Because I've been watching you a bit, and clearly I think you are a niche market kind of. You like stuff like Farming Simulator, which is cool. Everybody does his own thing. And
I like MMO. I like grindy things. Like I like MMOs. Yeah. MMOs are typically like grindy games because they're not really supposed to end. So building your character skills up and armor and things like that. Star Citizen has to do it a different way, but that's what I want. So I don't know. I didn't see much of that happen this year, but with ship purchasing, that's a big step. One of the big ones. So I don't know. But yeah, so what's your version of success? Oh, he's gone. What happened? Oh no. Well, okay, well, you're here now, so I'll like splice this in somehow. But welcome back.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Okay, so where we stopped was like what I thought, what I expected from Star Citizen, or like I wanted like MMO kind of style gameplay, like grindy stuff, and then boom, you disappeared. So keep going.
Yeah. So of course, making this Star Citizen a living universe is what's the challenge, right? And for that, first of all, making AI work is a must-have, and
Yeah.
and all those entities to simulate them is a gigantic challenge because the citizen universe, of course, is so big, right? And basically this means that there must be many thousands of entities which are simulated as AI, which have to do collision detection, pathfinding, and all those things. And seeing that happen.
But you know that that's not what all those AI are doing at any given time. That's just the AI on
which are visible to the players, yes.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be thousands.
But even then, you fly through those lanes, connecting planets, and you want to encounter people or AI or other players, right? And like you had in this CitizenCon demo from Tony Set, where you have those, what he calls it, quantas or something, right?
Yes.
You want to see something going on, so you, in the end, you will have to simulate them. And because the space is so vast, in order to actually encounter somebody, each player has to see, let's say, I don't know, at least 5 AI in the surrounding of his, and this adds up. 5 times 50 is already 250 AI entities.
Yeah, but do you know how...
Presuming that they're all apart.
Okay, but how they planned on doing it was, did you see the end of the episode where he showed the grid system? And as you move through the grids, the grid will say, okay, there's 5 AI here. They are wearing this, they're using this ship, they are doing this. It's this kind of AI, it's that kind of AI, it's a pirate, it's a regular NPC, it's a security guard. And that's how many of each they have. So when you're inside of that area, then it says, all right, well, this is the probability of that you would see them at this time. And then it does the calculation, and then it spawns in those 2 or 3 NPCs, is how I understood it. And I don't think that that's like crazy.
Let's presume that all players are spread out in the universe, right?
Yes.
And you want to experience a breathing, living universe, right?
Okay.
So you want to have at least 3 or 5 AIs in your surrounding, right? So those have to be simulated, right? They have to do pathfinding, they have to do collision checks and all those things.
But with server meshing, they're being simulated on your server.
Well, okay, that's presuming that server meshing will happen. One important point about server meshing, for example, is Chris Roberts repeatedly said that SOC's server object container streaming will enable meshing. Well, I don't see this being a technical reality, you know. Server meshing really is just about handing over connections between servers, and the spatial information regarding this is just helping to optimize this system, but it's really not a necessity to implement that, right?
SOC's just smooths it out, right? So you don't have like a hitch.
Well, smoothing out it. Yeah, and that's the big problem. It actually, as we can see, at least for now, it doesn't, because
there's tons of hitching.
As I mentioned before, the huge challenge with Star Citizen is that this game world is so huge, and planet surfaces and so on have giant polygon counts for the collision meshes and things like this. And streaming those in is extremely challenging for the server performance, because I/O, also input-output streams, are degrading even really powerful servers.
Yeah.
So my point is, I don't see that they really made any progress towards this goal of making Star Citizen a living universe, and the challenge still stands. And I just want to inform all these people who buy chips and hope for a great game should be aware that it's it's an unlikely thing to happen, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think we're all.
I really hope that it will happen. Of course, of course, I'm positive about that. But but I wish they would be more specific about their plan, or if they really want to achieve that. And it's really
they come
difficult
out
to
and say-
communicate the technical details and all that. But you have things like spatial OS, right? And even those things are not proven, right?
Did you ever read the article about all the things, like server-side OCS and server meshing and everything? And from a technical standpoint, from somebody who is in game development, what were they saying there? That clearly didn't change your opinion on anything.
Well, of course, it makes sense. I mean, technically, it makes sense what they were doing, right? But the question is if they will achieve the performance that they need. And even I can't answer this either, because it's still a matter of how excellent they are in their low-level implementations, things like that, which are really hours to talk about, right? But my primary point is that even the best studios in the world struggle with that in a much smaller scope, right? As I said before, for example, Rockstar Games with GTA Online, they have to cut down the number of AI significantly. If you join a server there, you notice this compared to the single player game.
Yeah.
Because they just can't handle that. And same with collision detection, the synchronization of physics, right? Those are enormous challenges, and I haven't seen a single studio in the world managing that even remotely to the scope that CIG is planning doing it. Right. As I just mentioned, spatial OS, things like that are even not really proven yet, right? They are in a small map, comparably small. I think they did like 200 kilometers square or something like this, which is not really comparable to Star Citizen at all. I mean, you have like 1,000 times the amount of data in the current universe alone, right?
But you say you remain positive. Why?
Well, I just hope that they manage to do that, but that's all, right? I don't see any clear path toward that goal, considering the current achievements they made, considering the tick rate of the current servers.
Somebody in Twitch had said, ask him about tech like spatial OS. I don't know what that is. So you've mentioned it, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah,
Can you elaborate on it?
They are like an API for networking in games, and they do server meshing as well. And they did some demos about I think it was 200 kilometers square and hundreds of players, and they achieved I think a tick rate of 30 hertz.
Okay.
Which is quite good, but as I said before, this 200 kilometers square is tiny compared to the Star Citizen universe.
Yeah.
And another aspect then also becomes is then a cost to maintain those servers. Even what Spatial OS is doing, I mean, they for this demo they really consume some serious server resources, which are of course expensive.
Yeah, I think it was like if we look at the financials for Star Citizen this year or last year, 2018, it was $9 million.
Yeah.
And server costs and like a number of other things. And I can't imagine that it wouldn't be significantly more in the near future with all of this stuff going on.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see, but I just want people to be cautious. Buying their 890 jumps or whatever. And I to be honest, I find this kind of concerning because, I mean, there are some game devs who make some tweets, regarding Star Citizen, but not enough. And I wish there was some game dev who might want to be more public than I want to be, and goes into those details in a game journal or.
Well, I think his name was Derek Smart.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
I think he tried. The boogeyman
of the community, right?
Yeah, well, the boogeyman didn't say things much differently than what you were saying. That what you're saying right now was that they don't have the tech. It doesn't exist to some extent.
Okay,
was his main argument. He was a fucking idiot when he was saying it, but it was his main argument. Like he didn't have as clean of a delivery as you do, but your arguments aren't that significantly different, right?
All right, I don't call it a scam. What does he say? Right?
Yeah, all the other dumb shit that he
obvious.
says, but the main point is that he didn't think. I think he doesn't think that the tech is there. That doesn't exist. It's not possible. And you seem to fall along the same line of that thinking, is that it may not be possible. And like somebody in Twitch chat said, somebody has to try and do it. Like there's no way to know if it can happen unless somebody tries. And for me, and obviously for you as well, because you hope that it would happen, is that we want Star Citizen to try. And the one thing that I would say to you is don't tell people to do anything with their money, right? Like, I want to inform these people that are buying 890 jumps. That's never a good thing to say, just because people are going to do with their money what they want to do with it. And I don't feel it's anyone's place to tell anybody what to do with their money.
No.
Yeah,
no. Of course, I just want to extend the amount of information.
Exactly.
That's just my main goal. I don't want to tell them what to do.
Of course. I totally understand. But I'm just going from a delivery standpoint, right? Like I get where you're saying. You want people to be as informed as possible. And unfortunately, the only people that are informing you are the people that are selling you the game at the moment, right? So what you're doing is saying from your experiences in game development that maybe it's not all what it seems. And that's totally awesome of you to come out and say and want to do.
One more thing I want to add is,
go.
I watched the CitizenCon carefully because I'm kind of interested in it because of course I'm a game dev and it's it's a big star on the horizon. So anyway, I was kind of baffled by the fact that those gameplay demos on the CitizenCon never really appeared to be viable really for the EU. I mean, you've seen this what is called stealth mission or whatever it was.
It was completely faked.
And this concerns me that people appear to not criticize this enough. So
I did.
I just wonder, what's going on through the heads of the people, right? Because it's been going on for years now, right? With demos which clearly are.
Here's the thing, Derbertali.
Questionably viable.
Nobody as far as CitizenCon goes, if you look at what people are actually talking about, nobody talked about the demo.
Yeah.
Other than the way the planet looked. Nobody talked about the demo because they all saw what you saw. It was not good. It was not a good showing, right? But when people looked at the other panels about the technical side of things and the way they delivered it, that's what people talked about, and that's what people are getting excited for next year. It's not necessarily what we saw on that panel because we all saw what you saw. It was a yikes. It was a yikes. And
also what Tony said there presented. I think I saw this right? That it was in fact just a web demo. I mean, it was an web app, and they just parsed some data from the servers there, the positional data of some clients. And it was not really connected to the actual game. I mean, it was no implementation in the game.
Possibly, I don't know, but I think the part that it being web interface is easier, or the way that it looks and how it works was easier for designers to use. I assume that was the reason why it was a web interface. But yeah, I don't know. That wouldn't be something I could answer.
All right. Okay. I shared my perspective on that. All right. So I wish you the best with your stream and the future of the game. And all right.
And you're gonna go into your doomsday bunker and run away while we all get killed by the nuclear bomb, is what you're saying, right? That's the tone that you have.
It's just a game, man. It's just a game, right?
I know. That's how I look at it. But that was the tone you have, which is so funny. All right, Derbertali. Thank you very much for calling. That was really nice, and it was good. It was a good change of pace for us. Thank you. All right, guys. So that will do it for today's show. So that's how I'll end it. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there was some technical difficulties, so there might be like a cut during Dur's call, and then we come into the ending here. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think about Star Citizen's future. Let me know what or present future. How was this year? Was it a good year? Was it a bad year? I'm really excited to read some of these YouTube comments because they're going to be insane. If you made it to the end of the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed Answer the Call and you want more content like this in the future. So that'll do it for this week, and I look forward to next week, guys. And next week, like we said earlier, is should Star Citizen implement more simple, early, like tier 0 versions of their gameplay, so we have a more interesting experience. And yes, Twitch chat is telling me, say things about Twitch. I do stream on Twitch every day but Friday, and specifically we do this live on Twitch on Sundays at 10 a.m., and we have a wonderful Discord community that we do all these calls through. So make sure you stop by Discord. So it's twitch.tv/SaltEMike and discord.gg/SaltEMike, and come join our community, hang out, talk about Star Citizen. And we also play other games in the Discord, like Farm Simulator. We have a server. We play Escape from Tarkov a lot together. So yeah. And guys, again, I will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, everybody.